Hi, my name is Ginger Annis, Veteran Service Officer for Alexander County. Did you know there are approximately 850 World War II servicemen and women passing away each day? Each of these service personnel have a story about friendships, families, experiences, and achievements. The Veteran Service Office, in cooperation with the Alexander County Government Channel, will be hosting, in a series, several short stories shared by these courageous veterans. So sit back and enjoy our history, our heroes. Alexander County Veteran Service Officer, and today I'm joined by Marlowe Mitchell, who is a World War II veteran. Mr. Mitchell, would you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Well, I was born in 1923. I started work at Lyle Down Cotton Mill, 30 cents an hour. They paid you in a little poke, cash money. At that time, it's $11.88. That's what a week's work was. 30 cents an hour, 3/4 is 12, and they took out 1 cent in tax.
Right.
Well, I went from there. I worked at the cotton mill on third shift. That's what I was doing. I was 16 years old. Wasn't supposed to work at night, but wound up I did. I learned how to work in the cotton mill and got a job. Well, I got married in July the 4th, 1942. I had 4 children: Jerry Mitchell, Kay Mitchell, Barry, and Diane. My first wife passed away 43 years ago. She had MS for 6 years. The first 3 years wasn't bad, but the next 3 years she couldn't even feed herself. She passed away, and I met this little lady here, Betty Bowman Mitchell. She had 2 little girls, 6 and 8 years old. We got married, and I adopted them. They have 3 children apiece today. And I don't know what else. I've been through a lot of different things. I've never been in the hospital, but one time I was in the Navy. When I went across the international date line, going to the South Pacific. It was raining, and we were loading out oil, 55-gallon drums of oil to a little ship that couldn't make their own water. We fed them, give them water, and we was loading 55-gallon drums. We had to put them on a pallet, turn them up on the edge. We had to roll them up, and it was raining, and the guys wouldn't half help me, and the sergeant and all was cussing about getting it out there. And I started lifting them up, setting them up on the end. I strained my back. I guess pulled a muscle or something, I don't know, but that's the only time in my life I've ever been in the hospital. I'm 88 years old. I'll be 89 in October if I'm living. I just thank the Lord that I'm able to go and do like I do. I can't work like I used to, but at least I try. I get out. I can't stand the hot sun like I used to. But it's good to get in the house, and it's good to lay down at night and just thank the Lord for the day. You know, that I'm able to lay down and go to sleep. I can go to sleep. My wife, she'll be up and down all night. Can't sleep. But when I go to bed to sleep, and thank the Lord I can sleep. I can rest.
What community do you live in now?
The Lyle Down community off of Mays Lane.
Now, were you drafted, or did you volunteer for the military?
Well, I more or less just went ahead and went because everybody else was going, and they're still calling for people. We didn't, when I first went in, I didn't they didn't give me but 5 weeks training.
Mm-hmm.
Most time it took 3 months to train anybody, but they were needing people then.
Right.
Went to Camp Cross, South Carolina, and was swore in. And we went to Bainbridge, Maryland, took a training, 5 weeks training.
Mm-hmm.
Went from there. They knew it's going to be on this ship, put this ship in commission, went to Rhode Island, Newport, Rhode Island, and took training for firefighting, putting the fire out, oil, gas, or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Come back to Bainbridge, Maryland, and put this ship in commission.
Mm-hmm. Now, what was the ship's name?
U.S. Severin,
Mm-hmm.
AO-61. It was named after a river up in Maryland. Well, we put this ship in commission and went out on the Chesapeake Bay for 2 weeks, a shakedown cruise. And we'll come back in, and when we come back in, they feed us ice cream.
That was a treat, huh?
We left from there and went from there down to Panama Canal. We were on our way down there 3 days.
Mm-hmm.
Because they just take their time. I guess they had a time they could go through the canal.
Right.
Well, the first day, I made me seasick. Got a ship would go up and down, up and down. I vomited for the first day. Then the next 2 days, I tried to vomit, couldn't. I just believed been dead.
Mm-hmm.
We got in the Panama Canal, and like you said a while ago, we had to raise you up so much because the Atlantic's a little bit higher or lower than the Pacific. But in the Panama Canal, they had to raise you up to get in the canal because it's up. It makes me think of the Lyle Down River a little bit.
Right.
You know? It's muddy like that.
Mm-hmm.
Well, whenever we got halfway, there was a man had his pickup. I had a picture of them carved out in the rock as meeting each other.
Mm-hmm.
And went from there to Pearl Harbor.
Mm-hmm.
And seen those ships just standing on the end where they had done in 41, you know, when the Japs raided Pearl Harbor.
Right.
And went from there to, well, several places, Western Carolina, the Carolina Islands and the Marshall Islands and Anahuac. A lot of them different places I forgot, but we traveled to a lot of different places. Mm-hmm. And when we went into Lady Gulf, when MacArthur went back into, MacArthur was run away from the Philippines back before the war sometime or another. Mm-hmm. And he said then he would return. Right. And that's where he returned to, Lady Gulf in the Philippines. Mm-hmm. And we were in on that invasion there. Mm-hmm. It really rough for several days, for the first 3 days. But like I told you a while ago, a lot of times you could see bodies that float around your ship. Right. We were anchored in the harbor at that time. Mm-hmm. The bodies started coming to the top of the water. It just looked like leaves in the water that you've seen stand in the water. Right. And for several days, there's bodies all over the water like that. Mm-hmm.
So you were in the Navy. And what was the highest rank that you attained?
Ship fitter, first class. Okay. That was a job that anything needed to be done. Somebody asked me last night what I done through the day. Well, the people in charge would keep you busy if it wasn't nothing but washing the bulkhead. Right. You know? Right. They had 3 pump rooms, big pump rooms, went all the way to the bottom of the ship. Mm-hmm. And all the way to the top, because that's where the pumps was, in the bottom. Right. And they'd have you washing the bulkhead or the hallway every day of the week. You know, every day except Sunday, and maybe a lot of times you didn't have to on Sunday.
Right. They was just trying to keep you busy.
That's what the idea was.
Mm-hmm. Now, were you only assigned to that one ship, or did you change ships?
Just the one ship.
Okay. Did you make any friends while you were in the service?
Yeah, I did. There's 3 boys from Alexander County went with me and stayed with me. 2 of them went on a ship with me. Croson Bowman, you probably didn't know him, but he was from out at Lyledown. He married my first cousin. He took training with me, and whenever we was taking training, I'd always try to get him when we was having a box, and you know, they'd take you out every morning or every other day, and they'd want you to box each other. You know, who you're gonna box, but it's the whole crew, the whole outfit. And I'd always try to get him so he wouldn't hit me too hard.
So y'all had a deal. Did you ever get to boxing?
Yeah, well, we boxed some, but I just went through the motion, you know. Every morning we'd have to get up 4 o'clock, you know, and get out and run around and race the track. A lot of them couldn't make it, but I always tried my best to make it.
Do you remember any of your superior officers, and if so, why?
Well, Mr. Jennings from South Carolina, he was the one that favored me and helped me along, you know. We had some good people to work with. The chief petty officer, he would teach you to cables, put cables together, inch cables. He could take his tools and work and go in and under, put 2 together, and it'd be a little bit thicker, but it'd be as strong as the other. Same way with those big ropes, you know, that tie the ships down with. He could work around them, and they could be just as, if they'd break, he could put them back together, and it'd be just as stout as it was anywhere else. Did
you learn how to do that too?
Well, I learned how to tie a square knot. You know what a square knot is?
I'm not sure.
I'll show you after a while.
Okay.
A square knot, it won't come loose. A lot of people ties a granny knot or a... It'll work loose, but a square knot will not.
Okay. Were you in any skirmishes or battles that you can tell us about?
Well, it's in, well, I was telling you a while ago about the bomber coming over. We was docked in port, and this bomber come over. It's part of the cloud. There's this cloud here and there, and we was on general quarters. A lot of times they'd attack us every hour. A lot of times of a morning when he's eating breakfast. I remember one time we went about 6 times. We'd go and get started eating, they'd call us back, and they'd go back and forth. We wasted a lot of good food back then. Well, anyway, this bomber come over, just dropped down through the clouds, and it was about 114 degrees, and we didn't have our helmets on, the gun I was on. And whenever this plane come over, he come right out of the cloud, right up above ships, and I seen the bomb bay doors open. And the bomb come out, and it come down like this. It started out, and then it come down. He had aimed for this tanker. That's what this was, a tanker. American oiler, that's what the AO 61 meant. AO, that's American oiler. And he was headed for that, and he hit a little patrol craft that was tied up. He's taking on water. That's what we fed water to a lot of different small craft that couldn't make their water. Well, he was aimed for the back of our ship. That's where the pump and the screws and everything was. You know, the screw, you know what the screw is? That's a propeller that pulls the ship. It had 2 big propellers. The shaft's about that big around. Well, anyway, he had headed for us because we was American oiler. And he had intended to get us, but he was about 30 feet short of us, like from here to that tree right there. Well, he hit this little ship, patrol craft, and just blowed the whole top of it out.
Oh, mercy.
And people seen the bomb coming, they jumped off in the water, and a lot of them died right there. But whenever the bomb hit, it just blew the whole top of the ship, that little ship out. And debris just fell all over us. We didn't have our helmets on, we're supposed to, but we didn't, as hot as it was, 114 degrees. And we tried to get in under each other. There was about 6 of us tried to get in under each other. And debris just fell all around over us. Well, when next day we tried to wash all the flesh off, it blew flesh way up 2 stories on the ship. Ship was, had several different stages, and it just blew it all over the side of the ship. And we tried for 3 days, and it stunk some of the stinkingest stuff I've ever seen in my life.
Right. What weapons were you assigned to?
It was named a 1.1. It was a 4-barrel, 1, 2, 3, 4. We had 4 people that loaded each side. Each one of them had a chamber here and a chamber on this side. And when this one would get out, it would fall over on this, and then you put another chamber, another set over here. That's the one we shot this plane down with. He was coming in from our aft. That's from the rear of us. And that's where we're stationed, on the back end of the ship. Forward would be forward, and aft would be behind us. When this suicide plane come in, there's 5 of them come out that day and circled around the whole convoy a couple times, and they picked out what ship they wanted. That was suicide people. They just claimed to give them enough fuel to come to do that, but they'd kill them, They were willing to die, and they did. They'd dive right into your ship, and they'd get you. Well, this one, he's coming into our aft, and there's an ammunition ship right behind us. And we shot it down, and it fell over to the side, and the wing went right down beside the ammunition ship. If it had blown the ammunition ship up, it would have blown us up too.
So y'all saved a lot of lives by shooting that plane down.
I've got some papers. Jerry pulled them up, and it told about that.
What were living conditions like on the ship?
Well, it's hot, hot, hot. Felt like
no air conditioning?
The engine room put out a lot of heat, and our bunks, we had bunks. I had the bottom 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, but they're all right close together. You come in from either side, and it was hot, hot, hot. A lot of times we'd take a cot and sleep outside because it's so hot in there.
What about showers and that kind of stuff? Did you ever get a shower?
Yeah, we had showers. We took a shower every day that we could,
How did you handle being away from home and family?
It was rough. But you knew you had to do that, and you had to kind of go along with it.
Right. Did faith play a part in your time away?
Did faith?
Faith.
Faith, yeah. It did. A lot of people, if it wasn't in a dangerous territory, they'd have beer parties for people. But I never drunk a beer all the time I was gone. But they did have ice cream, and I'd take that,
I would too. What did you do for fun when you were on leave? Did you ever get to tour any places, or?
We went to the Philippines one time. We went ashore, and we walked up through the jungle, and walked to a little schoolhouse, a little get-together.
Mhm.
They were, we got sawmills to saw our boards, you know.
Right.
They had cross-cut saws like me and my dad used to cut pulpwood down. My dad was a big old guy, and I was just a little fella, 9, 10 years old. And I just kind of guided the cross-cut saw on the other side, but he was a big man. He could cut it. Well, they were making boards, had the log laying up here, and they was over here, and they were coming down this way, a sawing to make boards. That's something I didn't ever see.
Right.
And one other thing I was going to tell you about at that schoolhouse, the little girls, they were some 8, 10, 12 years old.
Right.
Well, there's running a whorehouse there.
Mercy.
And the Navy boys, they were lined up. They had 10 girls, and each girl could take on 10 men if she wanted to, or less, or more. Well, when she got host, she could stand while they had another one come and take her place. Navy boys, they went crazy over stuff like that, especially some of them. Well, anyway, this little girl told me that we could see the whole house, just like them people right there walking, from the schoolhouse. It was a one-room schoolhouse. Everybody's in the same room. And she told me that they were doing that so they could have a better school. The little girl in the room. That's what she told me. Well, we went back, and a lot of times we could, if we'd be docked out pretty close, up at the dock, them little fellas over there, if you could throw a dime out, a nickel or a penny, they'd 4 or 5 of them, they'd go down and get that and come back up just a grinning because they'd go wanting American money.
Right.
We're going to run out of time here if you don't.
That's fine. You said that one time you saw some folks from Alexander County when you were at Guam. Tell us about that.
Well, Roger Lackey, he was one. He's from down here at Stony Point. He's a dairy farmer, I think. I talk to him occasionally. And Cruz and Bowman, you know. We had a good friend from Georgia, Roger Leon Lee. He was just an old, humble guy. I still think of him a lot. He'd do anything for you, but he didn't have nothing to say to nobody, you know.
Right.
A friend like that's a friend, you know.
That's exactly right. Did you receive any awards or medals for your time in the military?
Well, I got it here, American Theater and the Philippine Liberation and the Philippine Invasion and Asiatic Pacific Theater. Got them medals.
And what's been your occupation since you left the military?
Well, come back and went to work at Lyle Down Cotton Mill, and I went to C.G. Falk Lumber Company. In Croston, we got mad one day. Me and Ray Falk, my uncle, we were working there. We got mad because they wasn't doing things like we thought, and went to C.G. Falk Lumber Company in Hickory and worked for about 10 years. I give out a many a day, but I never did give up. I fed the end matcher. We'll put the tongue on the end of floor, hardwood floor, anywhere from a foot long to 14 foot long.
Oh, wow.
And I had to have to do that. Did a colored man run the other end of the end matcher. He's a big old guy, and I was just a little slim guy. And he'd try to cover me up, and a lot of times I just have to rake him out of the channel with it to come down to me. And he'd just holler, and when he'd get me behind, he'd really holler. Worked there, and then I went to Springing Up in the furniture factory, and went to Clayton Marcus when they first started. I was second Spring Up boy in Clayton Marcus Furniture Company. They've been down now for 25 years, and they've sold the place and it's standing up there empty. When I first went there, we sprung up in an old barn in the wintertime. They started the building, and then Ted Bowman, He's from up Bethlehem. He was the first man, spring up man, and we used to spring up down in the wintertime and had a little old kerosene heater between us. That's all the heat we had, but we worked hard enough to keep warm.
There you go. Were any of your family members or ancestors in the military?
My brother went in the same time, but he took the Army, and he was wounded in Europe. He went to Europe, went over the Atlantic, and I went to Pacific. And he got some German shot him, and the bullet went and lodged in his lung. And he was operated on. And he's been dead now for about 3 years. He was 2 years younger than me.
Okay. Are you active in any of the local veterans organizations?
Well, I belong to the VFW, but
Which post?
I hadn't been there since you've been there.
My post.
Well, that kind of disappointed me whenever I went and was going to sign up to get some help if I ever needed it.
Right.
And you know Benny Bever, he's my buddy.
Right.
He married my first cousin, and he's the one who got me started. But he still goes. He can't hardly go now, but he still goes.
Right. What would you say, or what advice would you give the youth of the world today about the military?
Well, we all need military, but there's a lot of stuff not done right the way I see it. One other thing I was thinking about telling, whenever we left Japan, we had all kind of repair material on the ship. In case we get hit, we could repair our own ship. Well, when we started back from Japan, coming back to San Francisco, Pedro Bay, that's where the tankers come in and out. Well, we had a lot of paint, because they believed in paint. They had yellow paint, and we always thought they'd done that. If seen a little bit of rust, we had to chip the rust off and put yellow paint on it, whether it was that much or a 10-foot. We always figured that for the Japs to see us better. But we had a lot of white paint and a lot of yellow paint. And whenever we left them over there, the ocean half full of paint from California to Japan, because they threw all them buckets full of paint right overboard. We had 4x8 sheets of metal, 1/2 inch, 3/4 inch thick. It went over the side. It'd take 4 men to pick up a piece of that and carry it to the side of the ship, and whenever you'd throw it over, he'd go, and it's in the bottom of the Pacific Ocean.
That's wasteful.
That's what I say. You see?
Do you have anything else you'd like to tell us about?
Well, I'm just glad to be alive. I'm glad the Lord let me live and have the family that I have. My wife here now, she's been a great help to me, I can say that. She treats me like a baby. That's not good in a way, because you get where you depend on it.
That just means she loves you.
I know it. Bound to be.
Well, Mr. Mitchell, I am so glad you shared with us your stories. We're going to show some of the pictures and some of the mementos that you brought with you now. And I just want to thank you for your service, and I'm very glad you shared your story with us.
Well, I had no idea ever doing anything like this. I can't talk like some people, but last night was the first time I'd ever told some of this, and now I'm trying to tell you the best I can.
Well, we appreciate it.
I appreciate y'all. Appreciate the VFW. And
Mr. Mitchell, tell us about this certificate that we're holding up here.
this is when we crossed the international date line. They always initiated people that had been across it before. They'd initiate people for the first time, and that's the way that it is. I never went to school a lot. I just finished 7th grade, and I didn't know what the international date line was, but I found out.
Tell about your initiation.
Well, they would run you through, you could have your shorts on, and they'd run you through, and they'd take the belt, sometimes the buckle part, and hit you and bring the blood. You'd not forget it whenever you was initiated.
So you had to go fast.
Yeah, you went through all quick as you could. You didn't let this and that one hit you many times.
There you go. Now we're going to show some pictures of you in uniform. Now explain about these two pictures.
Well, I ain't much explaining to do. When I went in service, I weighed 131 pounds, and when I come out, I weighed 146. They fed me.
All that ice cream.
Yeah, ice cream. Okay. We had good eating.
Do you have any of your medals or anything with you today?
Nothing but,
okay.
That's
all right.
been 60 years some ago, and they went this way and that way, and
right.
I don't know where they're at, really.
Okay.
But I had a paper showing what we... That'd be on my discharge. That's on my discharge.
This is it.
This is it. Right here, remarks. Remarks, point system, American area, Asiatic Pacific, 2-star Philippine liberation, 1-star victory, World War II. You see that? My serial number is 931-9250 if you want to know it. I ain't never forgot that.
Most people do not, I have found out.
931-9250.